The follow-up recipe to the broccoli soup that I made, probably the last video that I posted. We'll see how we go. Slightly wrong in that video. I put the wrong amount of water in. Checking back on my other videos about making soup, I put in 300 milliliters of water to cook when I should have put in 500 milliliters. So I've had a thought, and I defrosted the broccoli florets and I cut them up to kind of because the stalks are a little bit tough, and I wanted to make sure that the broccoli stalks were tender. So I chopped them off, cut them up, cooked those separately so they were nice and soft, and then I put in the florets, the very tops in, so we keep the colour and also have a nice tender soup. But there was, I was kind of thinking, do I actually need to do that? Can we just cook the broccoli florets whole and puree them down once they are soft or tender? Well, cooked-ish. They're already cooked. But I was kind of thinking, for the sake of ease, does someone really want to have to think about defrosting the broccoli florets and then chopping them up, when we could just potentially put those in and cook them and make a soup that way? So that's my thought on it. So it's just a little bit of an experiment. So my standard soup recipe is 350 grams of onions, which were peeled and chopped up, 500 milliliters of water, which we're using to cook the onions. The onions are going to take longer to cook than the broccoli, so we are cooking the onions first to get them nice and tender. We've got 125 milliliters of water, and we've got 3 stock cubes. No need for salt and pepper because there's plenty of seasoning in those 3 stock cubes. There's also, we'll get one of these out, there is also like a ice jacket. That's that one. There's also like an ice jacket on the broccoli, so there's liquid there as well. So in the previous video on making broccoli soup, I'll just turn that down. So that's coming up to boil. So we'll put the lid on, and that can cook away gently for 10 minutes, just so it's nice and tender. So in the previous video, when I defrosted them, that ice jacket melted, and that was some of the liquid that I used to make the soup with. So in total I ended up using 600 milliliters of water, and 100 milliliters of that was made up of the ice jacket that's surrounding these broccoli florets. So I've minused off the 100 milliliters from the ice jacket. Does that make sense? Kind of makes sense to me. I'm not the best person to kind of explain things the way my brain works, but you kind of get the gist. So what we're going to do is we'll cook the onions till they're nice and tender, and then we'll take the lid off. We'll bring up the pan, the onions and the water back up to the boil, rapid boil. Boil the broccoli in that water. We'll see if it needs. We might add the milk at that stage too, because we need more liquid to cook the broccoli. And then we'll see how we go, and then we'll maybe add the milk and the stock, and we'll puree it down, and we'll see if it stays as nice and green as the other soup did as well. So it's kind of like an experiment, but also to see if we can make the soup easier, because who doesn't want? I faff with things, other people potentially won't. So let's see. So we'll let that cook, and then we're back when the onions are nice and tender. Right then, onions are nice and soft now. So, oops, 2-second rule. Oops, turn that up. Turn it off. Full power. And broccoli florets in. Not lid on, because the lid, if you put the lid on green vegetables, it wants to turn them grey. We don't want that. We want to keep the vibrancy of the broccoli. So we'll see how we go. Is there going to be enough liquid to cook that? Not sure. We'll see how we go. Yeah, because some of the liquid's going to come off the outside of the broccoli, so we're going to get more liquid in there. So we're fine. We don't need to add any more liquid. We're not going to add the milk just yet, because that'll bring the temperature down. So don't be tempted to put the lid on to bring it back up to temperature, because we're going to lose colour. So up to the boil, boil rapidly until the broccoli is tender. We'll see how long it takes. On the packet it says it says 5 minutes on a medium heat. That's probably for al dente. You know, we don't want al dente. We want nice and soft because we're making soup. So, up to the boil. Boil rapidly until tender, and then we'll come back and we'll puree down. We'll add some milk and we'll compare it to the other broccoli soup. And we'll talk. Yeah, I've been out and I've had a look at the price of broccoli. So we'll talk about the price of broccoli when we're comparing the two soups. But anyway, 5-10 minutes or so. Right. So, camera moving. So, the broccoli is cooked and tender, nice, easily going through it. So it shouldn't be a problem for the blender to puree that up. It's just starting to lose its colour, so it looks like we're going to be okay. It looks like we're going to be okay. So, 3 stock cubes. We might need to add a little bit of water because we've had the lid off for longer and the water's been evaporating off. So we might need to add a little bit more water, but we'll see how we go. We'll look at the consistency. We're certainly going to need 3 stock cubes, and we're certainly going to need all that milk. So, milk in, and then the blender's not going to move any further over. So we'll put the puree over here, and we'll see how we go. Oop, turn the blender on now. Looks like we need some more water, so I've got some boiled, so we'll go for 100 mils. Slightly over, but it'll be fine. That's about the right consistency. Looks good. So we'll get that straight into the measuring jug and we'll see how much we've made. There we go. Same amount as we made with the other 1.2 litres, and I've got the other measuring jug, a slightly different measuring jug. But we'll be able to have a look at comparative type of colour. So it hasn't lost. This one's cooled down, so it's different. So can we get a better look? Does that light making a difference? I can tell. I can tell. So yeah, I don't think you need to defrost the soup. We can cook from frozen to make delicious broccoli soup. It doesn't look like it's got any fibres in it, so it doesn't look like it's. I was concerned that the stalks might have been a little bit woody, but it doesn't look like the stalks are woody at all. So there we go. Broccoli soup. Actually, it's made a little bit more. I don't know why it's made a little bit more. Maybe there was a little bit more than 500 grams left in the bag. So yeah, there we go. You don't need to. That was the defrosted and then the chopped up, and then cooking from defrosted. That was the cooking from frozen. So you don't actually need to. So that is the better method of doing it. You can cook from frozen, hassle-free, no faffing around, no chopping up apart from the onion, which you do with the soup anyway. You could even use frozen onion because you can get it frozen and chopped up. But there we go. That works really well. Now, so we'll talk about broccoli. I don't think frozen broccoli is particularly good. I'd rather have fresh broccoli, if I'm honest. That's still on. I'd rather have fresh broccoli if I was eating it as a vegetable. But for a soup, frozen broccoli is spot on. I checked out the price of fresh broccoli, and you pay for stalk as well. So it's about £1 for 300 grams, which is a lot more expensive than frozen broccoli, and you're also paying for the stalk as well. So making soup wise, very economical. I'll work out the price, but it'll be about the same price as pea soup or the carrot soup. probably about 20 pence a portion, something like that, which is really cheap, and dead easy. I don't know why you would, well, know why you buy soup, but if you've got a little bit of time and the inkling, and you want some fresh and delicious soup, then these are kind of the way to go. Well, not fresh because it's frozen, but it's still frozen vegetables are generally fresher than actual fresh vegetables because they're picked and cooked and frozen very quite quickly, whereas vegetables that might have been hanging around on the in storage and on supermarket shelves or in shop shelves for a few weeks, so they tend to lose nutrients. So frozen veg certainly has got a lot more nutrients in it. So, but there we go. Broccoli soup. The second way is the easier way. Oh, with better taste actually. Yeah, delicious. That with a poached egg in, and someone would love you forever. But there we go. Broccoli soup made from frozen broccoli.